It is time for the Stochastic Fiction game. This is a 2-hour writing game starting right now as I press this timer. I'm going to be able to begin the game by creating the actual stochastic fiction outline by executing this script right here. This will output a file that we'll see here. This contains the stochastic fiction outline and story elements for today to follow, and write a story and read it at the end of this time. For today's stochastic fiction game story elements, we have setting time, future, setting, main location, plane, conflict, person versus person, quantity of primary characters, mini, point of view, third, tense, present tense, genre, sports, format, flash, fiction. Those are the story elements for today's stochastic fiction game. Let's start trying to figure out how to fit those story elements into a flash fiction story. Flash fiction is typically between 400 and 1,000 words, depending on the publication and the genre. I like the sweet spot about around 600 to 700 words. This means within the next, hour and 58 minutes, we're going to need to create all the elements of a story, read it aloud. I think we can do that. Thinking of the setting in time, the future. Typically, the future is any more before now. I like to try to at least think this a little bit sooner than this year, or the next, when I think of future. And we are in a plane. We're flying. Okay. Well, the main location is going to have to be in a plane. And it's person versus person. And the genre is sports that I see right there. So this is actually going to be would to me settle out to be some story about competitive flyers. It is person versus person, and the genre is sports, and that sort of fits within this. Present tense, as far as the tense is concerned, it's not a big deal. It's my default, so it'll be easier for me to do it in present tense. Quantity of primary characters, many. There could be the fans, but we at least have 2, maybe the pit crews. Not sure how that's going to work. Setting, main location, plane. We'll get back to that in the future. So already my mind right now is already thinking about some sort of futuristic plane race, maybe. What makes it more interesting? What makes the tension? Why would you want to read this story right here? Why is this story going to be better than all those other stories about plane races that I've never read before? Yeah, plane, not airplane. Not plain as in boring. Person versus person. Yeah, I've just got to go. Especially with the genre being sports. Unless it could be different. So outside of making the location the sport thing, meaning it's going to be 2 people flying planes, which I don't know a lot about flying planes. I've never flown a plane and never needed to know all the lingo and fancy words one would need to know to be able to write something like that and not make it really bad. And I'd have to look up a lot online. If I want sports and they're flying in a plane to a different sporting event, that could work. And then the mini characters would be the teammates that is the device against this person versus person. I am familiar with sports. I've coached them, not on the professional level, on the volunteer level. And I follow sports, and I get fascinated with people competing against each other in sports and in other ways. So it's something that I'm a little more familiar with than just flying a plane. I'm going to put all the people in the plane. Now I have to decide whether this is going to be like what team, what sport. I'm already thinking the person versus person is going to be that concept of the next man up and the next person up. One gets replaced and maybe does better, and there's that conflict about the one that's on injury. And the egos, too. So I could see this being on a plane with someone like a wide receiver that gets replaced with the backup, or the quarterback that gets replaced with the backup, or the pitcher who falls out of rotation because they're injured and don't have a chance to come back and be the starting pitcher, or gets put in AAA. If I'm not also mistaken, if I knew it better, I know Formula One a little bit, and that's a sport, and that's definitely a good one for person versus person, because you have the 1 and 2 driver always competing, and then you have the owners deciding which driver they want to favor as far as the points for the season are concerned. That'd be a good one, but I still don't know enough. I've watched F1, and I've watched many documentaries on F1, and I read about it. I love the amount of money that goes into it, and the innovation, as well as the blending of the team needing to support the car and the individual taking it around the track. However, I don't feel like I'm comfortable enough sitting here creating some sort of story, especially a fictional story, when I don't know enough about the nonfiction of the world to be able to lie about it, which is fiction. So let's go with sports. Let's go baseball, football. Baseball I know well enough. Football I know well enough. Football, when I say football out loud, you can't tell from my accent, I am an American, so when I say football, it could be gridiron to other people. And those really are the sports. Like, I've played a lot of basketball, but at the same time, I'm not not the best basketball player there is. Nor watch it as much as I've watched football and baseball. This could be if we're getting everybody on one plane, it'd have to be a professional team. I don't know how well minor leaguers travel. They probably have some sort of arranged plane, but I'm pretty sure I know the professionals a lot of times will be able to get their own plane for the players. So let's have it be that. Now, football, baseball. I feel if I were to do it on baseball, who would it be? It wouldn't be a pitcher. It'd be like the shortstop. Maybe the one-hitter shortstop got injured. Maybe they were the 8-hitter shortstop, and now the shortstop that replaced them is just as good but got a better bat. And as the saying goes, if you can hit the ball well in baseball, they'll find a way to put you on the field, even if it's a designated hitter. Then you're going to be on the field, but only in the batter's box and on base if you make it. You can keep your job. So let's do that. Let's what's the tension? This is flash fiction. They're in baseball. Let's go baseball. Let's go baseball shortstop. Shortstop's a very important position, very difficult, cover a wide area. It seems to be the most sought at if you're an infield player. Defensively, it's got the most prestige. You have to have a lot of agility to be a shortstop, because you have to make the diving throws. You have to be able to cut off the ball. You got to be able to move, as opposed to when you're playing third and first. So typically, they got the ability to catch the ball, react to the ball, and get to the ball. But typically, they're not as agile or quick as the shortstop and or the second base player. Not saying anything goes against center field or right field or left field, but the shortstop's pretty difficult. Catcher is, my opinion, one of the more important parts of the team. So let's not even go there. Let's just make this person shortstop, because if you got a good catcher, they're going to get injured just because of, well, crouching all day long and then expecting to run bases. Youth only goes so far. So we're in a plane. Are we going to use a real life team? I mean, that's just it. Like, without the I'm going to. This is not going to be published, so it's not as if I'm going to have to be concerned about getting sued. Won't be published in final form. It may be published in this form. But then what to write about? What team? I'd honestly have no favorite baseball team, aside for the one that my son plays on and the Portland Pickles. So I do have a favorite baseball team. But major leagues, where we're at right here, I can watch any major league game. I just don't have a strict love. I grew up in a state that did not have a major league baseball, so I didn't have like that heritage around me. I guess it'd be called heritage, tradition, whatever you want to call it, to say love this team. I do know I'm supposed to hate the Dodgers. That's like the one thing that I got ingrained in my mind from my mother is that fuck the Dodgers. She being a San Francisco Giants fan, having been in the Bay Area, and I will maybe make this a Giants team or the Dodgers. And just the amount of money they're going to be spending. Money. And the egos behind that money. I'm already kind of bored of this story as I think about it. Let's go back to the story elements. What's the conflict? Person versus person. I already said it was going to be like the shortstop. The money. That argument. So we can open that up too. So I got to think of like two characters. I'll just say Dodger. Dodger shortstop. I like one word on that. Dodgers shortstop. I have no idea what I'm going to write here. This is what should possess that? I gotta think of names. Oh. Will Prompt. Sits. Stands in the aisle. I think that's aisle. I hope that is. No. Excuse me. It was disgusting. I apologize. An aisle. With an A? Is it an A? Yes. Man. Because that's English. Stand in the aisle of the airplane, what kind of like, I don't want to say a brand name, but I do. Dodgers shortstop Will Pront stands in the aisle of the team plane. Just say team plane. Where would they be going? Man, I don't know I don't know how they're divided up anymore. I had some sense years ago. Who are they likely to play? We'll say Detroit. Jetting over Utah. Jetting to Detroit. For a 2-game series. We'll say for a 3-game series. This is Bud Light. We're gonna use some. We're gonna drop brands. This is Major League Baseball. They don't do unbranded stuff. Money, money, money. So Dodgers shortstop Will Pront stands in the aisle of the team plane, jetting to Detroit for a 3-game series with the Tigers. He lifts his Bud Light. It says, a toast to the baseball gods. Giving me a chance to start. Few players look up. Look from their phones. Dodgers shortstop Will Pront stands in the aisle of the team plane, jetting to Detroit for a 3-game series with the Tigers. He lifts his Bud Light and says, baseball gods giving me the chance to start. A baseball god, the baseball gods. Baseball gods giving me a chance to start. I won't let you all down. A few players look from their phones. And one near the back. The injured shortstop. I mean, because the chance of everyone having some sort of standard boring American name in baseball is very unlikely, because that's cool. Juan Martinez. And one near the back, the injured starting line, Juan Martinez Spears. Scoffs. third base. Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some names here. Yeah, Juan's friends, third base, Aaron Davis. Says with a yawn. You'll get back. We have a 3-game series. This all takes place on a plane, though. I guess, I don't necessarily have to have a one plane flight. It could be mini. So it's all on a plane going back and forth. This way I could have the story progress and not just get like stuck in one scene and have some development within it before it ends. So Juan's friends, third base, Aaron Davis says with a yawn, you'll get it back. You'll get back. It's like a sprained ankle. It's a high sprain. Maybe pull the hamstring. Juan's hamstring. After leap, roll, stand and throw. Last game in the series against the Braves. Juan shrugs, maybe. Not if I don't have the baseball gods on my side. The baseball gods did bless. So we'll move on. We'll move the story forward now. Bless the backup shortstop. Who was the backboard? I already forgot. Will Pront. One game MVP. Twice. Leading in. Hitting for, let's say, hitting 500. I'm getting 6 runs batted in. Let's go present tense. Bless is the backup shortstop real prompt. Who wins game MVP twice, leading hitting 500. leading the hitting with a 500 average. And getting 6 runs and batting in and hitting in 6 runs. Along with a highlight of a steal of home base. At the beginning, the baseball gods bless the backup shortstop Will Prompt, who wins game MVP twice, leading the hitting 500. I don't know if game MVP. I'm just going to say this team is doing a game MVP to make people feel special. Who wins game MVP? Six runs along with a highlight of him still on home base. On the flight, people talk and share the highlights of Will's home base steal. And avoid the scowl. One sits in the seat. Knowing the trainer told him he'll mix the next series. As they fly to, where are they going to fly to today? Arizona. I don't know if they're in the same Dodgers. Yeah, let's do that. They fly to Arizona. They fly to Arizona as they fly to miss the next schedule, the next series with the Diamondbacks. As they fly to Arizona. So how is this going to end? I'm not certain. I mean, the conflict's going to have to brew over on the plane. And if you had a money person, your starter, you're going to put him back in the rotation. Or they're going to send him down to minors. He's not that injured, though. It's just a hammy. And they're young, so how long does I've had a hamstring before, but I got it when I was older. So, and it took a bit it took a bit of time. Yeah. So, I'm going to go along with what this says here. It's a mild grade 1 injury for several weeks. Yeah. So let's just say the pull hammy. And I did that. So how many games? As I fly to Arizona. Will prompt. Stood most of flight. Talking about fishing with the infield. Sitting around. Looking at phones. Will prompt stood most of flight, stands most of flight, stands most of flight. Stands most of flight in the aisle, stands in the aisle for the flight. Talking about fishing with the infielders. Talking with the infielders about fishing. While they sit looking at phones. Juan sits in the seat knowing the trainer told him he'll miss the next series, the Diamondbacks, with the Diamondbacks. Against the Diamondbacks. As they fly to Arizona. Will prompt stands in the aisle for the flight, talking with the infielders about fishing while they sit looking at the phones. He says on occasion. He says a few times, blessed by the baseball gods, still blessed by the baseball gods. Not looking at Juan. Who sits and glares at Will. So got to keep it on the plane. So we have this space of a conflict's going to have to happen here. It is already a conflict. I guess a resolution. How to resolve this. I'm not sure I like this story, but I don't know where else to go with it. I mean, it's the future too. Like that's fall. I mean, everything's the future. Baseball is going to be baseball in some fashion from now to the end of time. Or the end of America. No, it's gone beyond America. It's pretty famous. But the end of time, that's a little pretentious. Let's say the end of the era of our current world structure, which is very dynamic and could change today again. So I have him in a flight. This is where I'm not certain if this is one interesting. It is sort of to me and maybe others, but it's kind of a boring story right now. It does give maybe a little insight into the competition of sports, both maintaining your career, but also being subject to the fact you're in a body that's brittle and breaks. Because it's the human body. Will Prompt stands in the aisle for the entire flight. Will Prompt steps on the plane near last leaving Arizona and says, walking the aisle to a seat, still batting 500. Catching fire with a glove. A few people nod. Thumb hoping and blur. Second base. Slaps Prompt's shoulder. Saying what? Some compliment. Maybe they try to get back too soon, and that's the conflict. And that's how it ends. They try to play the game, and it re-aggravates it, and then they're going to be out for the season. Dive and throw. A few people clap. And mini nod. Yeah. Prompt grins and says loud, "Blessed by the gods." We're blessed by the baseball gods. Amen. Say a few. Amen. Say amen. Amen. Amen mumbles through the plane. a mumble. And tradition created in the dugout on the second game with Arizona. Created in the dugout on the second game with Arizona. All man talked. To ever mention the baseball gods. Gods that still curse. Where's this name at? I think I have a story. This is not too bad. Cursed by the hamstring. Gods that still curse the hamstring of Juan Martinez. That still curses the hamstring of Juan Martinez. We need you to rest the home series. Maybe we'll get you back when we go to... Where would they go? Where's the other place? Where's another... I'm just looking at schedules right now so I can at least rationally see who's currently in. Let's go Washington. Go to Philly. Let's go Philly. Oh, said the trainer. After one sits next to him. Feel good. I think this is it. So this is definitely the conflict. The future part, a little bit not using that as much as one might be able to. I don't feel like I want to use it because I don't think it's necessary. So we're going to go to the home stretch and then they're going to fly again. And for the home stretch, I think shortstop will do good. lost a home series, but Will won by moving up, by getting hits and on base and moving up the batting order from 7th to 2nd. Days later, and on the flight to Philly, and maybe they'll put him in as DH. They'll put, yeah. Days later, on the flight to Philly, Will walks the aisle. Proudly Will sits next to Juan. Mid-flight, he says, days later on the flight to Philly, Will do Juan lies to the training coach. He feels fine. It's then they start him in AAA. After the long flight, Juan convinces the trainer and coach to let him DH to test his leg. I need a piece. I'm ready to go. Days later, on the flight to Philly, Juan lies to the training coach. I feel fine. I can play. I'm good. I'm good to go. It's then that he finds they may put him in triple. They'll let him rest, warm up. After the long flight, Juan convinces the trainer and coach to let him DH to test the hammy. I need a piece. I'm ready to go. There are no baseball gods. All right, so I can't have a game where he pulls it again, but he's going to pull the hammy. He's going to be out for the season. And then maybe story over and done. Like, that's it. Days later on the flight to Philly, Juan lies to the training coach saying, I'm good to go. It's then that he finds they may put him in triple A. To let him rest and warm up. After the long flight, Juan convinces the trainer and the coach to let him DH to test the hammy. I need a piece. I'm ready to go. I got bat. Better than Juan's bat has been good, but not lately. While they're deboarding the plane, the batting coach, tells Juan he gets one at bat. Juan's bat has been good, but not lately. While deboarding the plane, the batting coach tells Juan he gets one at bat. One. The first. Then we'll see. I think this is how am I going to end this? It's got to be on the plane. Juan's bat has been good, but not lately. While deboarding the plane, going 6 for 30 before his hammy. While deboarding the plane, the batting coach tells Juan he gets the first bat. First, he gets one at bat, the first, then we'll see. May the baseball gods bless we get left behind. You're not coming home with the team. Your hammy's bad. May the baseball gods bless our teammate Juan. Says Will. As Juan flew home 2 days ago to get surgery. Can you, I don't know, I don't know, do you need getting surgery for a hamstring? I don't know. I think that's it. Hamstrung. That's what it's going to be called, hamstrung. I think that's it. I think it meets the parameters, like without grandioseness. Like it sort of has the resolution. It does have a conflict. It has that sort of tension of wanting to get back into the game, mixed with the fact that professional sports is not a friendly thing to, and it's hard. Especially because of the body. Any sport, anything that deals with the body, it's difficult. At least professional players get millions of dollars, unlike construction workers. Farmers, whose bodies break down pretty quickly due to the hard labor that was required for such things. Both jobs I've done before, and both jobs I don't want to do again. I would have to say the most physical labor of being a lumper of a semi. But being a baseball player is equally as difficult, mentally as challenging, and if you're blessed by the baseball gods, it can make it professionally. My hat's off. But then you have that conflict. Let's stop talking about this story and let's read it aloud. See if it at least meets these story elements. The story elements for today's stochastic fiction game are setting, time, future, setting, main, location, plane, conflict, person versus person, quantity of primary characters, mini, point of view, third, tense, present tense, genre, sports, format, flash fiction. For today's stochastic fiction game story, it is a story called Hamstrung. Hamstrung. Dodger shortstop Will Prompt stands in the aisle of the team plane jetting to Detroit for a 3-game series with the Tigers. He lifts his Bud Light and says, "The baseball god's given me a chance to start. I won't let you all down." Few players look from their phones. What the hell? I'm going to have to reread this again. Few players look from their phones, including one in the back. One player near the back. I'm sorry. Few players look from their phones. That include let's go ahead. I had a false start. I had a terrible sentence that I couldn't even read over those mistakes. There'll be mistakes read over during this. Let's go give this another go for this story called Hamstrung. Hamstrung. Dodger shortstop Will Prompt stands in the aisle of the team plane jetting to Detroit for a 3-game series with the Tigers. He lifts his Bud Light and says, "The baseball god's given me a chance to start. I won't let you all down." A few players look from their phones. That include one player near the back of the plane, the injured starting shortstop Juan Martinez, who scoffs and mumbles, "It means baseball gods hate me." Juan's friend, third base Aaron Davis, says with a yawn, "You'll get back. Hammies heal fast." Juan's hamstring pulled after a leap, roll, and stand and throw the last game in the series against the Braves. Juan shrugs. "Not baseball gods on my side." The baseball gods blesses the backup shortstop Will Prompt, who wins game MVP twice, leading the hitting with 500 average and hitting in 6 runs, along with a highlight of his steal of home base. On the flight back, people talk and share the highlight of Will's home base steal and avoid contact with Juan. Juan sits in the seat knowing the trainer told him he'll miss the next series with the Diamondbacks as they fly to Arizona. Will prompt stands in the aisle for the flight, talking to the infielders about fishing while they look at phones. He says a few times, still blessed by the baseball gods, not looking at Juan, who glares at Will. Will prompt steps on the plane near last as they leave Arizona and says, walking the aisle to his seat, still batting .500 and catching those rockets. A few people nod. Thom Hunkleberry, the second baseman, slaps Pront's shoulder, saying, save the game with the drive and throw. Man, this sucks. My reading is, it's third base, Aaron Davis. This sentence is horrible. The baseball gods blesses the backup shortstop Will Prompt, who wins the game MVP twice and leads the team with a series hitting average of 500. And hits in 6 runs. Along with a highlight of a steal of home base on the flight to Arizona. People talk and share highlights of Will's home base steal and avoid contact with Juan. Juan sits in the seat knowing their trainer told him he'll miss the next series against the Diamondbacks as they fly to Arizona. Let's move this sentence here. And let's get rid of this sentence here. Will Prompt steps on the plane after a series sweep in Arizona. Will steps on the steps last. Will Prompt is the last to step onto the plane. That's a better sentence. I guess I can spend a little time cleaning this up so I ain't total trash. A few people nod. Thom Hunkleberry slaps Pront's shoulder, saying, save the game with a dive and a throw. Save today's game. Pront grins and says loud, we're blessed by the baseball gods. Amen mumbles through the plane, a mumble and tradition created in the dugout on the second game with Arizona. Amen talks after every mention of the baseball gods. All right. I think I'm ready to actually read this through. I want to be done with this. It's a fun story. It's a little bit, well, maybe not the most exciting thing in the world for others, but I find enjoyment in it. I think I have enough edits to allow me to read this from beginning to end, and I can read over the mistakes that still exist. Third time is usually a charm, or the time when I'm like, I don't care if it sounds bad, let's just get it done. Let's just get this done and read it aloud. Rate the game at the end and move on with life so we have more inspiration as well as more content for better stories. Story's called Hamstrung. Hamstrung. Dodgers shortstop Will Prompt stands in the aisle of the team plane jetting to Detroit for a 3-game series with the Tigers. He lifts his Bud Light and says, "The baseball god's given me a chance to start. I won't let you all down." Few players look from their phones. That include one player near the back of the plane. The injured starting shortstop Juan Martinez scoffs and mumbles. "Means baseball gods hate me?" Juan's friend's third base Aaron Davis says with a yawn, "You'll get back the hammies he'll fast." Juan's hamstring pulled after a leap, roll, stand, and throw the last game in the series against the Braves. Juan shrugs. "No baseball gods on my side." The baseball gods blesses the backup shortstop Will Prompt, who wins game MVP twice and leads the team with the series hitting average of 500 and hits in 6 runs, along with a highlight of a steal of home base. On the flight to Arizona, people talk and share the highlights of Will's home base steal, avoid eye contact with Juan. Will Prompt stands in the aisle for the flight, talking with the infielders about fishing while they look at phones. He says a few times, "Still blessed by the gods," not looking at Juan, who glares at Will. Juan sits in the seats back, knowing the trainer told him he'll miss the next series against the Diamondbacks as they fly to Arizona. After the series sweep in Arizona, Will Prompt is the last to step onto the team plane and says, walking the aisle to his seat, "Still batting 500 and catching those rockets." A few people nod. Dom Hunkleberry, the second baseman, slaps Prompt's shoulder, saying, "Save today's wins with the dive and the throw." Prompt grins and says loud, "We're blessed by the baseball gods." "Amen," mumbles through the plane, a mumble and tradition created in the dugout on the second game with Arizona. Amen talks after every mention of the baseball gods. Gods that still curses the hamstring of Juan Martinez. "We needed to rest the home series, and maybe we'll get you back when we go to Philly," says the trainer, after Juan sits next to him on the flight and lies, saying, "I feel good, ready to get back in." The Dodgers lose the series at home, but Will wins by getting hits and on base and moving the batting order from 7th to 2nd. Days later, on the flight to Philly, Juan lies to the training coach, saying, "I'm good to go." It's then that he finds they may pull him into AAA and let him rest and warm up. After the long flight, Juan convinces the trainer and coach to let him DH to test a hammy. "I need peace. I'm ready to go. I got bat as good as Will." Juan's bat was good, but not lately after going 6 for 30 before his hamstring pulled. While boarding the plane, the batting coach tells Juan he'll get one at bat. The first, then we'll see. "May the baseball gods bless our teammate Juan," says Will, as Juan flew home 2 days ago to get the surgery on his hamstring, and Will sits on the plane, still shortstop of the Dodgers. That was that was not my other writing thing called Video Game Flash Fiction. That was the Stochastic Fiction game. Let's rate that story. Of a 1 to 4, I'd give it a 3. It's kind of neat. There's some gaps that may need to be filled in, and the writing style is a little bit different and interesting. It did fall within the confines of the story elements, I feel. So with that, let's save this. And remember it. Life and the story elements. Write a story inspired by life and the story elements. Critique. Story to be 3 or 4. Publish this story, the state of the story. And with time still left on the clock, and life still be had to live, it is time to go live life.